Hey, it is Thursday, and I will be hosting a Stand Up with Pete Dominic happy hour hangout tonight at 8 p.m. If you are a paid subscriber, I hope to see you there. If you are not, what are you waiting for? Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Get that secret link and join us tonight at 8. Okay, let's do it. Stand up. And we are off, and very happy that you decided to say, you know what, I think I'll press play on the old Pete Dominic show there, you know? I like that. I've got David Rothkopf joining me today, and another great conversation with one of our favorite regular guests here on the show. And if you want to jump to my conversation with Rothkopf, it begins at 30 minutes in. But I'm happy to have you here. Couldn't do it without you. Hope to see you tonight at the Hangout, and I hope that you are doing okay here at the end of the week in mid-November. We are running right up against Thanksgiving. Did you figure out your Thanksgiving plans yet? Are you making anything? Are you bringing something? Are you looking forward to it? Are you not looking forward to it? A lot of questions. We can discuss them later on tonight or anytime on the Discord platform if you like. And I have got to get to your news now. It's called, this first segment, it's called The Shit Show, because I do the headlines and I do the clips from the day before pretty much, and we are living through a very weird time in this kind of hellscape here in America with Donald Trump as our president. Our friends and family members, neighbors, and people we thought we knew have gone nuts. Somehow we are still here on Earth One, connected to each other. And so I like to go through and do the news, the shit show right here at the top. Let's do it. All right. Let's start with the fact that a whole bunch of information came out around the Epstein documents, the Epstein files, the news about Epstein and his relationship with Donald Trump. We learned a lot yesterday. If all of those 8 emails are accurate or real or whatever you want to say, but Democrats in Congress released 3 emails yesterday morning where Epstein, the convicted sex offender and really good friend of our current commander and thief, suggested that they knew each other. He knew more about his abuse than Trump acknowledged. Like Trump knew more about Epstein's crimes than Trump would acknowledge. In one of the messages, of course, Epstein wrote that Trump had spent hours at my house with one of Epstein's victims. So that was one that got, of course, a lot of attention. And so much more came out as the day unfolded that right-wing Christian nationalist white supremacist Nick Fuentes, who is been trying to kill MAGA, I guess, also just announced that MAGA is dead. So I shared the screen grab of his tweet that I saw someone else posting, and I just captioned it, "The day that MAGA died." Yes, I was thinking of American Pie and Don McLean, but I didn't know so many other people were going to comment and make up their own lyrics for it, starting with legendary comedian Greg Proops, who follows me and saw that. He'll be on the show possibly tomorrow. I may be live with Proops today. He's got a new album coming out, but he wrote, "I can't remember if I cried when I heard about his widowed bride, but I carried on just being snide the day that MAGA died." And my friend comedian Adam Sankright wrote, "Drove my Harley down to Arby, they were all out of fries, and Marjorie Taylor was kissing Sarah McBride, saying this'll be the day MAGA died. This'll be the day that MAGA died." So a lot of other very funny comments on that post. Love it. So hopefully I'll talk to Proops about that and everything else later today that is scheduled for today at 3 p.m. We'll see if we make it happen. Hope to see you there if we do. All right, let's get to all the other headlines. I mean, everything that's not Epstein related is what I'm going to jump through right now. But members of the House of Representatives returned yesterday for their first session in 54 days. They are tasked with approving a Senate bill to end the longest government shutdown in American history. The vote was tight, but the chamber's Republican leadership got it done. Democrats still fighting over the deal that a small group of them made to end the shutdown. Many in the party unhappy that they were unable to secure an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, some believing the fight effectively highlighted issues like healthcare and food aid that could benefit them come election time. That's just some light reporting from the New York Times last night about that. And also today was the day the penny died. Let me start over with the lyrics. No, the American penny, which came to life 232 years ago under the oversight of one Alexander Hamilton, was officially retired yesterday afternoon. The penny just retired. The final pennies minted in front of the top Treasury officials in Philadelphia each cost some 3 cents to make. So it seemed like a financial absurdity, and I think the penny was doomed as a result. But the penny's not going anywhere. There's still roughly 250 billion of them in circulation. Don't worry. They're very, very rarely used to help pay for anything. But if you've got some, well, I don't know. Use them to level out a table or something. More stories, more news. Bombings in the capitals of India and Pakistan have raised fears of another conflict between the two countries. In the Middle East, Israel said it had reopened the Zikim border crossing in northern Gaza, a long-standing request from aid organizations. In health news, at a conference in Geneva, Switzerland, researchers at the forefront of animal-human transplantation allowed themselves the first real optimism in decades. Research on adults who take SSRIs show that those are like antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, show they tamp down sexual desire. I don't know if that's the case with teens, but the question that they're asking over at the New York Times on articles, we don't know the effect it has on teens that take those antidepressants. And the Northern Lights returned to the U.S. Did you see them? I've got a great photo from Sean Nielsen in Alaska for today's Vitamin N. If you're a paid subscriber, you should see that in the email. Just exquisite, Sean. Thank you. All right, a couple more. How about this one? What could possibly go wrong in the waters near Latin America, where the U.S. largest aircraft carrier has just arrived, expanding the American military buildup as the Trump regime seeks to ratchet up pressure on the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro. In Supreme Court news, with a potential end to the government shutdown in sight, the Supreme Court yesterday extended a freeze on a federal judge's ruling that would require the Trump regime to fully fund the SNAP Fund program in November. So that's definitely not great for all kinds of people who depend on that funding to get food, just food. A watchdog group wants to bar authorities in Florida and Virginia and investigate Lindsay Halligan, the Florida lawyer that was installed by obese Juan Kenobi, to pursue anybody he perceives as his enemies and just create criminal cases out of nothing. Anybody he doesn't like. So we'll see what happens with that complaint. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Lindsay Halligan, who's clearly unqualified for the position that she's in. And those are the headlines that I gathered for you here today, the ones that are the most impactful and important. I'm sure I missed plenty. You can always send me any ideas you have. StandUpWithPete@gmail.com for headlines or sound clips, sound bites, whatever. That's what we'll get to now. Let's start with some jokes from Seth Meyers last night on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Mike Johnson yesterday told members of Congress to return to Capitol Hill right now to prepare to vote on a bill to reopen the government, and I'm sure they would if only the flights weren't all grounded. In a new interview, Rudy Giuliani said that he was surprised to receive a pardon from President Trump and added, quote, "No one can say President Trump can't keep a secret, but they do still have a way of getting out." In the same interview, Rudy Giuliani said that his financial situation is better and he has been making money from his podcast and paid speaking engagements and apparently experimental drug trials. President Trump over the weekend posted on Truth Social, quote, "Less crime, more Trump." Less crime sounds great, but how could there be more Trump? You're on every front page, every news show. Now you're on football games. There's a Trump on the bestseller list. There's one at NYU. We're maxed out on Trump. The only way there could be more Trump is if you figured out how to clone yourself. Oh, no! Former President Joe Biden attended a fundraising dinner on Friday for the Nebraska Democratic Party in Omaha and spoke for 30 minutes. That's it? He usually speaks that long to the valet. There are a lot of different cars. In a new interview, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said that if the government shutdown continues, a substantial number of people will miss celebrating the holidays with their families. Oh no, I was so excited to discuss that Zoran win with my uncle. According to a new ranking from a travel website, Boston is the best airport for a boozy layover. Well, yeah, it's Boston. It's also the best spot for a boozy physical. Kraft Mac and Cheese is releasing a new apple pie flavor for the holidays because if we can't bring down the price of groceries, the new strategy is to just make you not want them. And finally, the donut chain Krispy Kreme last quarter closed nearly 1,000 locations as well as nearly 6,000 arteries. And that
is all I've got for you there. Let's check in with Colbert over at CBS last night.
Which is technically still not over, has caused major chaos at airports across the United States where air traffic controllers have gone unpaid for so long that many have had to call out of work or even resign. Trump is not happy with them. So yesterday he posted, all air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. Wow, that sounds like an awesome job. Extremely high stress, understaffed, you work 6 days a week, you don't get paid, and the president attacks you in public? How could it get better? Maybe a donkey could kick you in the nuts while it rains iguanas on your head? Trump also, good old iguana Dave. Oh, we're going here. How's it going? Trump also let those controllers know he's not going to forget them playing hooky, writing, you will have a negative mark, at least in my mind, against your record. Really? Really? A negative mark in that mind. You know what? I'll take my chances. I'll never forget your disloyalty. Harold, Sharon. What's your name? Burlap? Aceta Mita Pina Colada? Then Trump let controllers know how easy it would be to replace them. If you want to leave service in the near future, please do not hesitate to do so with no payment or severance of any kind. You'll be quickly replaced by true patriots. Maybe I'm alone, but I don't care if the guy landing my plane is a true patriot. I just want him to know what he's doing. I don't want a surgeon saying, okay, I didn't go to med school, but pretty sure the torso is where they keep all the important wet stuff. Trump is an old Nepo billionaire who simply does not understand how hard it is for regular people to survive these days. And right now, regular people are not happy. A survey measuring consumer satisfaction with current conditions has fallen to 52.3% this month, marking the worst ever for the survey, dating to 1951. Consumers have not felt this bad since we fed our babies cigarettes.
Very good, very good. That's a good way to start with some jokes. Let's head over to the House floor yesterday where they're debating the bill to reopen the government. And James McGovern, Jimmy G, one of the elders now, this is what he had to say, rip-roaring on the floor. Love it.
What the hell is wrong with them? While regular people are struggling to pay bills, Donald Trump's net worth has gone up by $3 billion since he became president. People's health insurance premiums are doubling and tripling, but Republicans say there is no affordability crisis, even as their tariffs are costing people an extra $1,200 per year. Regular people can't afford the rent, and Republicans are letting Trump gild his bathroom and build a ballroom to host the rich and powerful elites who own the GOP. These guys are bailing out Argentina. They're giving $40 billion to an entirely different country rather than helping the 42 million Americans who can't afford to put food on the table. And here's the clincher, Mr. Speaker. Buried in this CR is a corrupt kickback for 8 Republican senators, $1 million payday funded by taxpayers, taken straight from the Treasury and deposited directly into their pockets. What the hell is wrong with this place? They promised to put America first. The only thing you guys put first is yourselves. Yourselves and the rich and powerful people who pull your strings behind the scenes. These people don't care. They don't have to call the insurance company because their claim was denied. They don't buy their own groceries. If you have a private jet, an offshore bank account, and an invite to Mar-a-Lago, go ahead and support your Republican representative. But if you're a regular person who feels like you're getting screwed over, if you are fed up with the status quo here in Washington that only works for those at the top, this majority is not fighting for you, but we are. Democrats are on your side, and we will fight with you every step of the way against the corruption, the lies, and the BS coming out of this administration. And we won't back this so-called deal. It's not a real solution, and it is certainly not a clean CR.
Yeah, there you go. And now let's check in with the newest member of Congress who was sworn in yesterday in front of, it seemed like everybody was there. It's Adelita Grijalva. And guess what? She brought two of Epstein's victims to the House chamber. They were there in the audience. Very smart.
Our democracy only works when everyone has a voice. This includes the millions of people across the country who have experienced violence and exploitation, including Liz Stein and Jessica Michaels, both survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. They are here in the gallery with us this evening. Thank you for being here. Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people. We need to fight for our immigrant communities and veterans. We need to stand up for our public schools, children, and educators. We need to respect tribal sovereignty in our environment. We need to stand up for LGBTQ plus rights because that's what the American people expect us to do. Fight for them. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files. Justice cannot wait another day. Adelante, mi gente. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. I yield back.
All right, there you go. That's how it sounded yesterday. And let's head over to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who also had a couple things to say in the House.
It is great. It is great that Democrats have a line of people who are willing to fight for working class Americans from coast to coast in this country. Because God forbid that we have a member of the Republican caucus who stands up and actually wants to extend the Affordable Care Act so that people with cancer, insulin, and issues across all sorts of health care issues across this country have their health insurance protected and extended throughout 2026. It is unconscionable that what we are debating right now is legislation that will give 8 members of the United States Senate over $1 million apiece. And we are robbing people of their food assistance and of their health care to pay for it. How is this even on the floor? How can we, as members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, vote to enrich ourselves by stealing from the American people? That is what this legislation does. In fact, Senator Graham just went before the press earlier today saying he was going to seek well over $1 million from the American people from this. We cannot support it, and we cannot stand for it. Thank you.
Gentleman's time expired.
All right, AOC ripping it. And as you know, or may not, a couple weeks ago, Eric Swalwell predicted that there would be a lot more Republicans that would be voting on this. And now they're starting to come out. The Epstein files release, I should say. Here's Don Bacon on the MSNBC. He's a Republican, and he is going to go against Trump's wishes to keep it covered up.
Bacon, thank you so much. And just to be clear, I want to make sure I heard you correctly. You will be voting yes on releasing the Epstein files if it makes it to the floor, and you believe it will.
If it goes on the floor, I get a lot of pushback. Why don't you put your name on the discharge petition? And I'm just going to be subtle in my response. Just look at all the few Republicans who are on it and who they are. It's going to come on the floor. I will vote yes.
Got it. All right, Congressman Bacon.
Bacon. That's your name is Bacon? All right, well, there you go. There's going to be a lot more. I think there's going to be several more. The day that MAGA died. We'll see. I mean, I'm getting a little over our skis, having too much fun with that. But I do have a clip from one of the MAGA strong. It's Dave Smith. He wouldn't count himself that way, but he's like one of the most well-known libertarian kind of comedians in the country. He's got a huge following. And so it matters. And I always play these clips. It matters when people who once supported Trump, especially if they are outspoken influencers with huge audiences, are as critical as Dave is in this clip. And there is a little bit of sound from Trump himself in this. It's very short, but I thought listening to Dave Smith shit on Trump to his audience is, well, kind of satisfying.
It's kind of hard to overstate what a disaster this whole thing has been. And just on every front, on every front. And if when Donald Trump successfully hijacked the Republican Party and took over and became president in 2016, well, the way he ran was a complete repudiation of the George W. Bush administration. And likewise, in a similar fashion, I think the time is now that for Donald Trump. I think the time is for all of us to admit that this whole thing is just a disaster. Like a year ago, Donald Trump won this incredible election. He comes in with his record high approval ratings. His agenda was wildly popular with the American people. Trump wins every single swing state, wins the popular vote. He captured the culture, the youth, the energy of the whole country. The biggest shift away from Mr. Trump, I'm reading from the Economist piece here, has been amongst Americans under 30 years old. His net approval amongst that group was +3 when he returned to the Oval Office. It's now -40. Let's look at some of these clips here, because I don't think you can overstate what a disaster some of them are.
But
then why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that?
I don't know that they are saying. I think polls are fake. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We will have over $20 trillion come into our economy, and it's largely because of my election, but it's also largely because of tariffs.
This is Joe Biden's economic defense. It is identical. It is the exact same thing. Oh, why do people have such economic anxiety? I don't know, because they're wrong, because they're stupid, because they've been fooled. And I mean, how much do you need to look around, Rob? Israel's getting every bit of funding that they need to keep destroying Gaza. Ukraine's still being funded. Epstein's still being covered up. Where's government spending? Okay, it's higher than it was the last year. My point basically is not only do we get Joe Biden's presidency, but we also get Joe Biden's defense for the economy. If there was a way to seize defeat from the jaws of victory, to take this monumental, historic victory from a year ago and just have blown it all, just blown it all in a year, there's your message right there. Everybody concerned with the economy, you're wrong. We have an empire that we cannot afford to maintain and a welfare state that we cannot afford to maintain. And when I say that, I'm really talking about the entitlements. We can't afford any of this shit. We're going broke, and we're printing the money to make up for it. And this is debasing the currency, and it's leading to the prices of everything going up. And if you're not going to take on that, and you're also not even willing to expose the stuff that the deep state's doing, like Epstein stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Dave Smith taking a big old dump on MAGA and Trump. See if it makes any difference. We'll see what the backlash looks like the day that MAGA died. Okay, here is economist Justin Wolfers helping us understand how unbelievably absurd a 50-year mortgage would be. He was on CNN's Caitlin Collins last night.
The average age of first-time home buyers in the United States, it's a record high of 40 years old right now. I mean, so as Harry noted, a person could be paying off a home well into their 90s. I wonder what you make of this, just right off the bat.
Well, actually, I want to come to Harry's numbers. I love Harry. I love everything about him. He's a data nerd. But I'm an economist, so I get to add something to the cake. So when he did his math, he said, what if the 50-year loan is the same rate as a 30-year loan? That's actually too optimistic. For a bank, a 50-year mortgage is actually riskier because there's more things that can go wrong in between. A reasonable guess is, in fact, that the interest rate on a 50-year mortgage would be 0.5% or even 1% higher than it would be under a 30, which means, here's my math, for a typical home, the monthly payment would move from $3,100 to $3,000, not very much at all. So you'd save almost nothing on the monthly mortgage and you have to pay for another 20 years. The point that you make, that if I take a loan, even at age 35, the idea that the perfect house for me at age 35 is the same house I would have chosen at age 85 doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So there's a fundamental problem here, which is trying to fix what's going on with our housing market by fiddling with the mortgage market is misdiagnosing the problem.
All right, well, I should have – that was good from Justin Wolfers. Obviously, sorry. And back sell that. Who was it that told me I always have to repeat the name for you? That was Justin Wolfers. I don't have much analysis and reaction to the news around the Epstein files yesterday in today's show. I realized that because I think you're probably getting bombarded by it. If I would have found a good montage or something, I would have included it. But finally here, I've got our friend Trey Crowder with another rant from his car. We love the liberal rednecks. We love Trey Crowder. And whenever I see he's posted a new one, I like to share it with you. This is as good as always. Take it away, Trey.
Hey, y'all. On Election Day last week, the American people sent a pretty clear message to the Democratic Party. They said, listen, we hate everything about this nightmare regime, and we're voting for you so that you can fight back. Yep, got it. Okay, great. What's your next move? We're going to stop fighting back. Yeah, surrender. Pretty much immediately. Just totally bend over. What? And I'm talking, of course, about the Senate Dems caving to the Republicans in order to end the government shutdown. And yeah, sure, they capitulated to an evil regime that seems hell-bent on ruining as many lives as possible. But, you know, at least they got absolutely nothing in return for that. And they would say, well, that's not true. While we may not have saved health care, we got them to promise they would vote on it later. Oh, yeah? What's next? You're going to make ICE vote on whether to stop pepper spraying brown kids for fun? It's like, look, obviously they're going to vote no, but at least we made them put themselves on the record. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, this time next year when people are literally dying because they can't afford to go to the doctor anymore, at least their loved ones can rest easy knowing you guys got the Republicans to make a note of it. And they also say, well, this shutdown had to end. People were suffering, and that's true, but it wasn't your fault. The Republicans had essentially gotten themselves into a position where their official argument was, listen, people are going to starve if you don't let us take their health care away right now. And you bailed them out of that? It's like if you were in a comic book and the villain of that comic book hatched a plot to cut off all the electricity to a Minnesota retirement community this winter, and he just told you that he was going to start periodically punching papaws in the pecker unless you agreed to help him do that. And it's like, sure, it's hard to watch a bunch of old guys get hit in the nuts over and over knowing you could stop it at any moment, but the alternative here is even worse. So how about you just let that guy keep pissing the papaws off until it gets so bad it triggers a geriatric uprising and he gets drawn and quartered by a fleet of mobility scooters. I'm just saying, right? Because that's the direction this was headed. People were blaming the Republicans for this. So why would you do this? And the actual answer is probably the filibuster, right? The nuking it might have been the GOP's only way out, and the Dems do not want that. They say they don't want that because they're afraid of that kind of power in the other team's hands. But I think deep down we all know the real reason they value the filibuster so much is that it allows them to keep doing the thing they love most in the world. Absolutely nothing. As long as the filibuster's there, they can run on the promise of fixing this country's problems without ever having to worry about actually attempting to do it. And so here we are again. And you know, I don't like to toot my own horn, but after the election last week, I made a video and I brought up the idea that this could lead to some momentum for the left. And I said this. After all, when's the last time the Democratic Party failed to capitalize on a moment or got in their own way or let us all down when the stakes could not have possibly been higher, right? Nah, I'm sure they got it under control. Should be fine. Shoo-wee, I like to think I'm a pretty prescient sumbitch, but I didn't know it would happen that fast. I mean, the truth is I said that because this is the most predictable thing ever. Even in the exit interviews after the election last week, they asked people, they were like, so who'd you vote for in there? As many Democrats as possible. Oh, yeah? What do you think about the Democrats? Oh, they suck. Terrible. Can't stand them. And that kind of sums the whole thing up. Like, we have zero expectations for these people, and yet still are disappointed. Like, honestly, it's almost impressive. Love y'all.
Oh, yeah. Well done as always. Very exquisite articles are so good, and I hope you appreciated the shit show, because that's all I've got for you. The headlines, the clips. Now it's time to get to my conversation with the great David Rothkopf, who, if you're not subscribed to his Substack, it's needtoknow.substack.com. And if you're not listening and a subscriber to the Deep State Radio Network, you're missing out. I know a lot of you are, and I encourage you to listen to and watch everything that David is doing over there with all of his number of shows, the Daily Blast, Greg Sargent that he produces, as well as the other Deep State Radio Network shows. So much good stuff over there, similar to what we're doing here in terms of the experts that he has on, whose analysis I think is razor sharp. Doesn't mean it's right. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything that happens or is said here is necessarily right, but we're giving you as good of a perspective as I can from credible experts each and every day. So thank you very much for your support. I hope you'll go follow David on Blue Sky, get his books. We were live yesterday on YouTube and Substack. If you want to go find it and subscribe, that would be great. YouTube.com/StandUpWithPete. Right now, let's do it. I'm very glad to talk to you today because there's a lot to talk with you about. Obviously, we've got to get right to the big story from the New York Times of emails between Michael Wolff and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And it seems like a pretty big deal. You're saying some pretty bold things, as well as others on social media. What is different about this story? Why does this one matter?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's different. It's the same story. We knew that Trump was hanging around with Epstein for a long time. We have pictures of them hanging around together. We knew Trump was accused of, doing bad things with young women for a long time. He's been accused of doing bad things with women for a long time. We just here have more evidence that apparently was in possession of the Congress, but also likely was in possession of law enforcement officials, where you have Jeffrey Epstein, the most notorious pedophile in American history, saying, oh, yeah, Trump knows. Trump was in the room with this victim for many, many hours. Trump has not gotten caught up in this thing yet. And he's strategizing with somebody about, how do we use this information we have on Trump? I'm old enough to remember when, Gary Hart didn't get to be president because he apparently, went on, had a fling with somebody, and Howard Dean didn't get to be president because he went, whoa, and people thought that was a little bit weird, and here's Donald Trump repeatedly accused of sex abuse, openly corrupt, the most corrupt figure in here. How did we get to this place where, this is going to happen? And, the White House is like, this is a false narrative. And Mike Johnson is like, oh, this is a distraction. It's like, no, he's like, was doing horrible things. You wouldn't hire him if you ran the local stationery store. And here he is running, the most powerful country in the world. Ugh.
The defense are already been put out by Republicans in defense of Trump. They're saying that the redacted victim's name has already on the record publicly denied she was never involved or saw Donald Trump. Anyway, she's dead now, but she wrote a book about it, Virginia Giuffre, or however her name is pronounced. Forgive me. And so this new email is nothing we didn't already know. It's just Democrats putting out a different side of the story. But we know this young woman says she was never involved with Trump, so he's vindicated.
Vindicated for what? Trump said he didn't know what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Trump said that his relationship with Epstein and his exchanges with him ended long before this. Trump said that he didn't do anything, improper with all of these young women. It's obviously not true, right? I mean, we all know that. There is not a single listener to your podcast or to this live stream who does not believe in their heart that Donald Trump, through Jeffrey Epstein and undoubtedly through other channels, had relationships with women who were too young, illegally young, unable to consent, because he's a disgusting sleazebag. We all know this. What we should be asking ourselves is, how do you get somebody who's so corrupt, so disgusting, so surrounded by fraud and, accusations of bad behavior in literally every aspect of his life, how does he rise up? What does it say about us as a society? That this is who we pick to be our leader and our face to the world. I mean, it's crazy.
Speaks volumes, I think, is what it says about who we are in our society. At least a certain percentage of us who have supported him versus those majority, I would argue, that are repelled by everything. And like you said, probably pretty unsurprised, but still, this is such a major story unfolding today. And of course, you and others were right when they said, you're going to have the midterm elections, then the Democrats snatching victory out of the jaws of defeat. And guess what? Right back to Epstein. Here comes the New York Times story. Here comes the swearing in of the congresswoman from Arizona. Here comes more. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, there's going to be, more coming. I mean, you just said a bunch of things there, and I think we should unpack it. The Democrats did great in the elections. I think they're going to do great in next year's elections because of a bunch of, unfortunate reasons for all of us, largely because the economy is going to hell and a lot of Trump's policies are hurting people, But they then, of course, shot themselves in the foot when these 8 Democrats went and said, let's fold on the government shutdown because, and I don't even like to frame it as folding on the shutdown. The Democrats were standing up and saying, look, you guys have got to protect healthcare benefits for tens of millions of people. We can't take this away from them. And we're not going to go a step further until you do that. And it was the right position to take. They should have taken it in the spring rather than, allowing through the big, hideous bill of Trump. But at least they were taking it now. And then I think with the blink and a nod, consent of Chuck Schumer, they went ahead and did this. And it was terrible. But, having said that, it's not so terrible that it's going to distract from the main story, which is Trump's bad, MAGA's bad. They're doing bad things. It's making our lives shitty. And that's ultimately going to, produce electoral change in the United States.
Ultimately, I'm just really focusing on the general narrative, the things that are trending on social media and how they resonate with different demographics of people who are engaged and how they think about politics and this day-to-day shit show that we're living in. And it would seem that this Epstein story is one for everybody. It's for everybody. It's for the right. It's for everyone else. It's for young people. It's for people that care about goss. Sexual goss of powerful people. It's huge in the tabloids in the UK because
is goss a term we use these days?
Yeah, it's like sus.
Sauce?
Sus, like that's suspect.
Sus. Oh, sus. And
like
goss?
Sus. There's a lot of goss about it.
Are you so afraid of exhausting yourself that you don't want to say the whole word? Are we conserving our energy?
I fully agree with all the criticisms of shortening words, but on the flip side, I am trying to appeal to the younger demo out there, and my daughters.
That's what getting a 69-year-old Jew from New Jersey on is going to help.
Who was booked?
Yeah.
There was a few. There were a few others already booked, so
the young ones were booked. So let's crank out this guy who looks like Hesh Rabkin.
Stop it now. You may look like that, but that doesn't mean you've ever done anything unsavory. Getting back to the point, that's a big story. That's the president of the United States. Everybody wants to know what happened. He had a wonderful secret. We're going to learn a lot more. This is going to be headlines for days and days. It should
be headlines forever. It's like Henry VIII killed his wives. Rasputin was, evil and did all this shit. Trump is one of the worst people who ever lived. People will be doing operas about Trump like they did operas about Bluebeard. You know, I mean, he's like, no, seriously. I mean, he's a horrible guy. And the difference is Henry VIII, not elected. Rasputin, not elected. Bluebeard, not elected. And yet, here in our democracy, 75 million people said, oh, yeah, there is this disgusting sex criminal, fraudster, felon, multiple bankrupt, liar, twisted motherfucker. Let's make him president. It's insane.
What, if anything, have you heard about Republicans are going to start or already have started turning their backs on Trump because just how bad this looks? Like the only time that we saw that happen was after January 6th, and it was temporary. Remember Lindsey Graham was like, I am done. I am out of here. But then like an hour later, he's like, I'm back, bitch. And I wonder if we're going to see something like that now. Aren't we going to see something like that?
What was that? Who was that Southern guy who went to jail who swears he's not gay, but, you know, who had his own reality show?
Oh, the Tiger guy?
No. There was this other reality show where, anyway, you just sounded exactly like that guy. Look, the Republicans, and frankly, there are a lot of Democrats like this too. They don't care about the substance. They care about their jobs. They just care what's going to win and what's going to lose. And so Trump comes along, and he is the stinkiest turd in the toilet bowl. But they think, oh, he's going to help me get elected. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do, swallow hard, hold my nose. I'm going to do it. The reason they're going to dump Trump has nothing to do with Epstein. It has nothing to do with this stuff. Trump knows what it has to do with. He's a lame duck. He's 80 years old. He's facing mortality. He is not going to be a figure in the party. Every single day, out of every pore of his body, relevance evaporates. And they know that he can't help them anymore. And so pretty soon they're going to start going, I wonder if JD can help me. Or I wonder if Kristi Noem can help me. Or I wonder if Marco Rubio can help me. Or I wonder if embracing Charlie Kirk's wife can help me. Or, you know, they're going to start looking for the next train to get them to keep their job, keep their power, then keep all the money that flows to them as a result of all of that flowing. And that's why, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, somebody who I know because we've been in the show a lot. You talked about her. You think about her. She's on your mind. She occupies a lot of your mental real estate. Yeah, exactly. I know.
Love her.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is all of a sudden being critical of Trump. Why? Did she learn something? Did she have a
AOC
revelation on the road to Damascus? No. She just thinks, oh, this is good for me politically. And so she's made a calculation.
AOC said on her Instagram that I'm going to spill some tea. The reason why MTG has gone rogue is because she wanted to run for Senate, and Trump and company are like, oh, hell no. And they said no. And so she's mad. That's what she said. Don't know if it matters.
That's possible. Hey, look, AOC is a queen, and AOC is a real leader. And Chuck Schumer ought to go and look and follow her Instagram account and learn what a real leader does, how a real leader acts.
She's a queen and a kingmaker as well. Like her endorsement, her campaigning.
She made money. She did. You know, I mean, he did. You know, he carried a lot of weight himself. But one of the reasons the Republicans try to marginalize her and talk about the squad and all that, they fear her. You know, it's just a point I make over and over. I probably made it on your podcast, but let's make it again. 2028 is the first election in American history where the majority of the voters will be born since 1990. That means the decisive votes in the next presidential election are going to be millennials and Zoomers. And they are going to pick the people that address their issues, communicate with them effectively, and so forth. And, as it just happens, Mamdani, a weird Mamdani, and AOC, they're exactly that cohort, right? AOC is a couple of years before 1990. Mamdani's a year after. But the point is, that's the future of American politics. And, 80-year-old, diaper-wearing, sex offenders just aren't it.
All right. If you say so, let me ask you then about.
If you say so. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I say so.
Let me ask you about Mamdani and the future of the Democratic Party. I've been trying to have conversations to move the Overton window where it belongs when we use any number of terms from moderate to centrist to radical to extremist.
Why do people use terms like the Overton window?
Is there a better...
is it to make them feel smart? No. It's just like, why do people... There's all this stuff, people are, oh, well, that's stochastic terrorism. I don't think it helps broaden an audience.
There's a myriad terms, a plethora even, that we could use. My vocabulary has only grown and grown by the day as I've been hosting this show. And I think that when I use certain terms mixed in with the rest of my meandering, that it really does impress people. That's why I use it.
I see.
The Overton window is a political model describing the range of policies considered acceptable by the public at a given time.
Yeah, no, I know what it is.
I know you know what it is.
But the point is, I don't know why people use these kind of buzzwords.
Well, you tell me how to make this point.
There was like, oh, I want to be smart. I'm going to use this guy. It doesn't help communicate.
I think
Zoran Mamdani didn't talk about the Overton window. The reason he won is he talked normal words to normal people. I'm from New Jersey. That's all I understand. I don't understand your big fancy ass words from New York State.
Someone watching the live stream just sent me $50 as a way to thank me for using the phrase. So this is, listen, whatever. I'm just trying to make money. But so, how do you? Because I want to replace that phrase because I think it's actually dumb because nobody knows what it means. Just like nobody knows what democracy means, but nobody knows what moderate means. Nobody knows what radical means. You had this great conversation.
They don't mean anything. I mean, that's the discussion you should be having. It doesn't mean those terms. Left and right and centrist and moderate, they don't mean anything. They are used by people who are trying to make a point. So most of the time in the media, if somebody's referred to as left or right, it's a criticism. And if somebody's referred to as moderate or centrist, it's not. And the reason is that the people who write the checks for the big media want to sell themselves as broadly acceptable. And so they want to promote the idea that their views, corporate views, are moderate. I just think it's all bullshit.
Well, I think it's bullshit too, but I would push back on the words don't mean anything because they mean something to everybody, and that's the problem.
No, I understand. They're misleading. What I should have said is they're misleading terms.
For sure. They mean something different to everybody. Furthermore, when I first started my radio show, I tried to avoid all those terms, especially liberal and conservative, because I wanted to talk about people's thoughts on the issue that we were discussing during that hour or whatever. And you had this great conversation with E.J. Dionne over at Need to Know, your Substack, talking about...
Yeah, and if anybody likes any of the words I'm using, go to Substack and subscribe to Need to Know, because my words deserve financial support also.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
A lot of words.
It's all you do is use words.
I use a lot of words.
I watched your conversation with E.J. Dionne. I read your piece at the Daily Beast. I read your Substacks. Watched your conversation with E.J. Dionne. The Simon Rosenberg and Tara McGowan, which is really great, talking about the cave, the big cave. That's what I called it.
The big cave. You mean like Plato's cave?
No, that's a far different cave.
It's a different cave. It's a different cave.
Plato's cave was like Epstein Island. A lot of people didn't know that.
What was going on in there? And then Plato said, you see the shadows on the wall, but he didn't say they were 12-year-old girls.
And then
people don't realize how fucking erudite you are, and this whole show is.
Oh, and people don't realize how much of a hypocrite you are after all of that, calling me erudite. Big giant word.
Do you remember the scene in The American President?
No.
The Michael Douglas movie where his girlfriend's Annette
Bening. Go ahead.
And then he comes out in his big scene. He makes this big speech where he says, I'm against this and I'm changing and I'm doing the right thing and I'm going to be the president you want. And his press secretary, Michael J. Fox, goes, well, he's got a lot of reporters looking up how to spell erudite. That was a scene in the movie.
I wish I could have just thrown to it rather than having you explain to it. I mean, that's the world we live in now, you know. Did you see blank last night? Just send me the link. Stop performing both sides of a conversation. Just link it to me. Getting back to Mamdani and what everybody's afraid of in the conversation, the Overton window, the labels, you guys did a deep dive into the history of kind of socialism, social democracy, and it's really helpful to watch that or think about it because it's not scary at all. It's really the reason one might argue why people in many countries in Western Europe live longer and happier lives, is my understanding.
Of course. And what's more, their governments are more fiscally responsible. If you look at the countries of Scandinavia, which offer health care for everybody and offer a social safety net for everybody and provide education free for everybody and all these other things, they are always ranked higher in terms of fiscal responsibility than our government is, you know, with our giant deficits and everything else. So it's better governance. It's good governance. It's also better for society. And the reason that we put big, loud labels on it, like this is socialism, is what? It's obviously in somebody's interest to scare people away from those policies, because governments that do that use taxes to provide for people, and they do a little leveling off, and it's not as good for the billionaires. It's not as good for the vulture capitalists. And, you know, American capitalism is particularly tough on the bottom fifth of society. And over the course of the past 40 years, inequality has grown worse, and it's harder to get from the bottom to the top. The American dream, this idea of mobility, is dying because the people at the top get greedier and greedier and they get more and more power. But, you know, this tug of war between the super rich and everybody else in society has been going on since the beginning of time, the beginning of this country. Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they all warned about concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. Justice Brandeis warned of it. Franklin Roosevelt warned of it. Harry Truman said that whenever we do anything that, you know, the establishment doesn't like, they call it socialism. I'll tell you, I was talking to E.J. Dionne, who's writing a book on social democracy, as you know. And after it, I went downstairs into my little TV room, and I was decompressing, and I was watching Death by Lightning. Have you watched Death by Lightning?
No, but I know you watch a movie every day, which is fascinating.
I try to. But so this was a movie. This is a mini series on Netflix about the weirdest subject you could ever imagine a mini series on. It's about the assassination of President James Garfield. And it includes Matthew McFadden as the lunatic assassin who ultimately kills him. But it caused me to go back and look at all this because, you know, Trump was all into this Gilded Age stuff. He was into President William McKinley. And of course, McKinley also got shot. Trump, they may not have told Trump this. But the richness of the Gilded Age that he seems to like produced a huge backlash in America, where we actually had a socialist, Eugene V. Debs, who successfully was a candidate. I mean, he didn't win the presidency, but he was very prominent. And I did a little more digging, and I actually sent this to EJ shortly after. The president before James Garfield Rutherford B. Hayes, probably your favorite president of all presidents, who nobody knows anything about except that he was president in like the 1870s. Rutherford B. Hayes, after serving in all of these roles, wrote this long thing. Go to his Wikipedia page because you can find it there. And in it, he goes, if we continue to concentrate all the power in this country in the hands of the rich, we will fail as a democracy. And then a little bit later, he got involved in these conversations. He says, you know what we should think about? Socialism. Why is that relevant? Rutherford B. Hayes in the 1870s, in the wake of the Civil War, these dusty people in the far, far back of time realized that the issues that we're discussing today were big problems and they needed to be solved. So this has been around a long, it's not Zoran Mamdani, it's also Rutherford B. Hayes.
It's a really great history education, and it's important the way we learn about it. I saw somebody write on social media, socialism is not communism. Capitalism means anybody can be rich. Communism says nobody can be rich. Socialism says anybody can be rich, but nobody should be poor. I kind of like that simplistic, because I think
it's simplistic, but look, it's stupid. There are rich communists. God knows there are rich communists. All of these ideologies are corrupted as they're put into practice. Right. The idea that I think is really important here is that within social democracy, there is a sense that we all have an obligation to one another and to our communities. Within American capitalism, there is a sense that left to their own devices, individuals can do pretty well. And we don't need big social mechanisms to help people. In fact, the fewer of them, the better. We need to look at each other as part of a community. We need to, because it's in our interest to, and because it's the right thing to do. And American capitalism just doesn't do that enough.
That's for damn sure. American capitalism actively does a lot of other things. You could argue because it's all rigged. I mean, it's not even. It's all fixed. Name an industry, and we can talk about how it benefits certain people than other people.
Right, and all they do, look at the tech bros. All they have done since they were little babies in their tech bro wombs was try to gain advantage over everybody else. Read stories about Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or these others, and all of them have tried to gain advantage. And what they have done within our system, thanks to buying judges and buying people, putting their own people into high office, is they've gained more and more power and they've rigged the system more and more. And we talked about this before. If, there are 10 or 15 major issues where 70, 80, 90% of the American people agree that they should be implemented, from gun reform to healthcare, and none of those things happen, you have to ask why they're not happening.
Or immigration and economics or education.
Or education, any of those, the environment, anything. Yep. Do a poll, 70, 80% of American people support.
Right.
Why, if 80% support it and we're supposedly a democracy, doesn't it happen? It's because we're not a democracy. We're not. Okay? American capitalism killed American democracy.
As Rutherford
as Rutherford B. Hayes and Anne Rutherford, the actress, and Chris Hayes every night on MSNBC
say it would and will and does. Okay. So, getting to talk about some of the policies being promoted by Mamdani is the way to go. And I think that's where people should have those debates and conversations and help people not be afraid of ideas that, may work, may not work, but they're not the conversation they're having, certainly on, I hate to say it, but the right, it's a label, which is the Democratic Party is debating where to go in terms of ideology to a certain extent. And the Republicans are like, should we go full hoods off? Full Nick Fuentes?
Yeah. No, they are. They're going to replace Donald Trump with Jesus Christ. They're going to say, we are the party of white Christian nationalism. And they think that's enough. It's not. It ultimately will be their undoing. The Democrats, on the election the other day, had a range of people, Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, who are national security Democrats, who are more moderate, Mom Donnie, Michelle Wu, who got reelected, the excellent mayor of Boston, the new mayor in Detroit. The Democrats said, well, there are a lot of things we can believe. We can believe different things. There's just one thing we have to believe in, okay? The one thing we have to believe in is we have to stand up to Trump. We have to say no to Trump. We have to stop him from destroying our country. And so long as you're willing to cross that hurdle, you can believe a lot of things. This is the problem with those 8 centrists or moderates or whatever the fuck you want to call them, who said, oh, no, we're going to fold on this on this issue of the shutdown, because they caved on the one thing that has to be non-negotiable here. People are looking for strong leaders to stand up to our corrupt, perverse, criminal leader.
That's enough, right? Like, that's enough to campaign on. There's this debate that Democrats need to do a lot more than be anti-Trump. They need to give you something to vote for. And the truth is, no. You don't even have to, as long as you are going to fight and you show that you're going to fight, because he's doing so much damage, what people want is to stop him from doing all that damage.
Well, first of all, I think that's enough. I mean, I think that's a lot, right? But the reality is, of course, Dems stand for many things. Okay, they stand for health care. They stand for Medicaid. They stand for Medicare. They stand for believing government has a role to play. They stand for protecting the environment or better education and those kind of things. Don't tell me they don't stand for anything. The Republicans, when you say what you're against, is they're for destroying all of those things. So by saying I oppose the Republicans, you're also saying, yeah, I think you should have health care. I think your grandma should be able to afford health care.
All right. Well, I think the future is pretty clear. Oh, one more thing I just wanted to I was just thinking of asking you, which is we mentioned Nick Fuentes and the space that he's taking up, the lane that he's driving in, and it just brings up this when was it that Charlie Kirk got murdered? Because I'm feeling like saying, just posting online to see what reaction it gets, Charlie who? Like, I cannot believe that pretty much everybody, a lot of people had it wrong, that was going to disappear and dissipate to a certain extent. Somebody else was going to fill the space. Another story was going to take over. And the only thing that seems to that we talk about with Charlie Kirk is how his widow seems to be behaving. And people aren't really saying much about Charlie Kirk. And I think that's fascinating. We don't have roving.
Charlie Kirk was a nobody. He was just one other guy trying to get out there, capitalize on racism in the United States, to have a position in the racist right, And the day before he was shot, he was on nobody's radar in any serious way. And the day after he got shot, he is, for all the reasons, and he shouldn't have been shot. It's disgusting that he was shot, but let's set that aside. The key thing is that guys like J.D. Vance stepped up and they said, I'm going to carry this torch forward because of Jesus. And I wish my wife, J.D. Vance, how can you in one way, you should run a marriage counseling podcast here, because how can you in 1 week, say that you wish your wife were another religion, and then grind on the widow of Charlie Kirk on national television?
You thought that his touching, the way that they touch was grinding, inappropriate. You thought it was...
That's the language we kids use.
I just say grind. I shorten it.
You shorten it to gur. No, they were gur. That's like Cardi B. Gur.
Wow, look at that. Who thought we were going to get a Cardi B reference here at the end from Rothkopf? Okay, well, all good stuff, all great insights. Very much appreciated. If you want more of this, head over to the Deep State Radio Network, Need to Know by David Rothkopf. Read his latest.
Need to Know is the Substack. Go support it. Sign up. Be a subscriber.
Yeah, it's so good. It's real, real good. It's one of my favorite places every day. Thank you very much for joining me when you do. I appreciate you, sir.
Same.
And there you have it. Rothkopf. You've been Rothkopfed. Thank you, Bumblebees, for listening all the way to the end. I hope you watched it live. You can go watch it on YouTube. Go subscribe to the Deep State Radio Network and needtoknow.substack.com. Follow him on Blue Sky. That's what I've got for you. I hope to see you at tonight's Hangout. Everybody, 8 p.m. East. Should be live with Greg Proops this afternoon around 3 p.m. East. We'll see. Hopefully that happens. You never know. But that's it for today, and I will talk to you tomorrow. John Carroll, taking us out as he does every day. JohnCarroll.org. Get the new album.
When you're tired of begging, saying pretty please, that's the time you gotta finally get up off of your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you gotta stand up, stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You gotta stand up, that's right. You got to rise up, you got to stand up, you got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience. Well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, stand up. Point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. This is the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We got to let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right. We got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.